hey gang, how much how much manpower does it need to implement proper 60 FPS patches for consoles? You showed in your modded PS5 that it's easily achievable with games like Red Dead Redemption 2. So why don't companies, or why doesn't, I think there's a slight typo there. Basically, why don't companies give us what we want? I'd assume it's even cheaper to produce than a quote-unquote GTA-like quote-unquote remaster, considering testing and marketing, for example. These newer consoles are already PC-like, so why isn't it, for some games, as easy as flipping a switch? So this is referring to the video I did in collaboration with Illusion, who produces mods for PlayStation 4 games that work on exploited consoles and basically unlock the frame rate. And you can run those mods on exploited PS4 Pro, PS4 and PS5 consoles. And obviously with the PS5, you have the backwards compatibility horsepower that propels those games up to 60 frames per second. And in some cases, it is as simple as removing a call to Sony's system library for half-rate VSync. And there's actually a mod that Illusion has done now, which will do that on any game that is running on PlayStation 4/5. The issue being that, maybe it doesn't use that system call. So it'll only work on some games. So that is an example of how it is literally like flipping a switch. The thing is, to answer this question, you've got to understand the hoops that developers have got to jump through in order to get a game onto the store. And that means, they need to be using Sony's official cross-platform SDK rather than, on-the-fly hacks or mods. And that actually was one of the major reasons why a lot of games couldn't get 60 FPS upgrades, because the games were old. They weren't built on the latest development environments. So it isn't just flipping a switch at that point. It's actually porting a game over to a new development environment, which isn't trivial. And I think I mentioned, I think it was actually in the accompanying Eurogamer article, not going to mention the developer, but one of the reasons they were able to produce a 60 FPS patch was that they hadn't actually updated their development kits. They had one in storage that was still running on the very, very old development environment.
I remember that.
And they could produce like a heuristic that, figured out whether it was actually running on hardware that was faster than a PS4 and then unlock the frame rate. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And I think as I said in the video, it's something that Sony could possibly do at the operating system level, which is exactly what Illusion's done with that ability to basically turn off the system call for a 30 FPS cap. But some games have their own caps. Batman Arkham Knight, you saw in that video, actually had 2 caps.
59 FPS.
59 FPS cap.
Double caps.
I know why it's doing that. It's the smooth command. It's probably the B smooth frame rate command in Unreal Engine. It's probably that. That one's Garbo. That's a bad command, by the way.
I don't think there's much for you guys to add to that, but,
Nope.
I do think that, if there is a route forward for making more PS4 games run at 60 FPS, I do think it's probably worth doing, because it completely transforms the feel of the game and it's going to drive sales. And if if it is a case of being relatively simple to do from a developmental perspective, it's worth doing. I mean, Just Cause 3, it ran terribly on PlayStation 4, like sub 20 FPS in some scenarios. With this testing that we did, we saw that on a PS5, remove the frame rate cap, it's basically locked 60 no matter what.
It's awesome.
It's nuts. I mean, this is a real golden opportunity to not just have backwards compatibility, but actually to refresh some really great games, because otherwise they remain locked at 30.